James and I have always had a weird relationship. Weird because we could talk as much as we wanted, on any subject at all, and neither I nor my first husband ever felt uncomfortable. I guess looking back, if we had done something about it, shown a little bit of discomfort even, we would not have gone through one of the most traumatizing periods of our lives. My name is Anne, and this is the story of how I lost my happily ever after, in a night I will never forget. Although I'm married now, to one of the kindest men on earth, I still believe young couples will learn from my sour experience. Because even if fate was kind to me after the storm, I'm still paying dearly for my actions. I got married to my first husband, Tommy, on Valentine's Day. Tommy was my high school sweetheart. You know when they say some people were made for each other? Well, I believe Tommy and I were made for each other. He was my first everything. My first love, first kiss, first date, first intimacy, first husband, and sadly, my first divorce. Tommy and I fanned the flames of our relationship even after high school. We even tried applying to the same college, University of Baltimore, but it did not work out. Tommy ended up going to UFM while I was picked at BGSU in Far, Ohio. But distance was not a barrier. It was like our love grew stronger with the distance. Tommy would fill me in on his day every day, and I would do the same. We were star-crossed lovers, one of those diamonds that no one could crack. But that's a lie now, isn't it? Tommy graduated from college with a degree in civil engineering, and I finished with a degree in English literature. Literature has always been my thing, and my hope was to author a book immediately after college. Tommy came to my graduation and watched me give the speech on behalf of my graduating class, looking at him and seeing pride in his eyes. His love for me was divine. That is all I can describe it as. After the ceremony, Tommy drove us to the party my parents had planned for me. It was one of the most beautiful days of my life, surrounded by family, friends, and of course, the love of my whole life. But the day was about to become even more magical. Tommy had connived with my parents to make the party our engagement party. He waited for the right time. Tommy loves doing things at the perfect time, when I was soaked into the party and was not expecting anything more. And with the help of my parents and before the people we loved, he popped the big question. Marriage has always been a thing for us, but proposing that day, I was really surprised. Well, that is Tommy for you, full of pleasant surprises. Why did I do what I did? Sometimes, every time, I wish I could turn back the hands of time. Maybe I would have not allowed us to move into that neighborhood in the first place. There are a lot of maybes after the deed is done. Nothing can be changed now. Absolutely nothing. Tommy and I got married under the tree where we had our first kiss. I still see that tree on my way to work every day. It was a fairy tale wedding. Flowers, everyone in white, a little tear mixed with the subtle tunes of our favorite song, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, by Elton John. As we danced, Tommy whispered softly in my ears, "Nothing will ever change my love for you." At the time, he meant it. I could see it in his eyes that day. I could still see it in court as we signed our divorce papers. Tommy had vowed himself to me and to nobody else, one of the most dangerous vows to make. But I knew I would not break his heart. I knew he was safe with me as I was with him. I knew nothing could come between us. Our first night as newlyweds was ethereal. Tommy did things to me that I would not forget in a hurry. I saw a different side of him, hungry with an appetite I could not fill. He had me to his fill, and had me some more. I would not have it any differently. We had our honeymoon in Hawaii. Tommy had planned everything out perfectly. It was a new experience every day, both outside and inside. I think Tommy memorized all the styles in the Kama Sutra because he had something new to teach me every day. The 3 days we spent in Hawaii gave us memories to last us a lifetime. I relive those memories every now and again, even now. We lived happily for 3 years, growing each other's career and helping each other achieve their goals. My first book, In My Boat, was a success, and I was writing the second one. Tommy had a thriving job as a supervisor at a construction company. He even hoped to start his own construction company soon. We were living the life, you see, until Tommy came home with that sorrow in the guise of joy. He had been promoted to senior engineer. This promotion came with a house, an official car, and increased salary. Tommy was so happy, he hoisted me. We already had plans of getting our first house, mortgage-free, before the year ended. With this house, we would be able to save up more for a better house, start his business, and still have a significant amount stashed up. I was happy we got a new house too, at least a new environment with new experiences for my book. Well, I got all the experiences I was hoping for and more. Moving to the new house was a little hard. We had grown so attached to this house, it had become part of our story. But after days of procrastination, we moved. Tommy took 2 days off work to help me unpack and set the new house in order. He knew I was particular about my environment, the color and the beauty. After helping as much as he could, he left me be. I spent days selecting wall paints, arts, and vase. Everything has to be perfect. I can't, even now, create in chaos. I would go to the local art shop to buy a select vase and return the ones I did not match with my ideal of perfection. I did this for a week. It was on one of my trips to the shop that I met James. He was a fascinating man with a beard and strong shoulders. I wasn't immediately intrigued by him until he approached me and spoke. I can still remember the first string of words he spoke in one breath. "These vases are a morbid waste of money." He said this with his thick London accent and a little flush of his pink lips. "No, they aren't," I countered with a little smile. "I know they aren't. I have over 1 million in my house, all with their story." I just thought to grab the lady's attention. I can still remember the conversation like it was yesterday. Some parts are blurry, though, but James spoke with so much ease and composure that day. And the music in his voice was to die for. He helped me pick a vase, insisted he paid, and we walked home together. That was the beginning of my doom. But I did not know. James stayed opposite our house. He was an established artist, with lots of his works in renowned art galleries globally. I never really noticed him until the day we spoke. James was calm and loud at the same time. He embodied the spirit of every artist, loud, reserved, shy, and confident. He had a lot of endearing features, James, but the most attractive are his eyes and his accent. James could tell stories with his mellifluous accent and steal your soul with his eyes. We became close almost immediately. Even Tommy enjoyed his company. He would regale us with stories of his travels, who he met, what he did, paintings he sold, and those he refused to sell. Talking to accomplished artists is every writer's dream, but having them stay opposite you, now, that is more than a dream come through. James gets me in ways I can't really explain. He gets the way I think, completes my sentences before I make them, and is the ideal protagonist for my novel. I soon found myself retelling his story, creating a well-traveled English character with the body of a sex god, the intellect of Athena, and the humor and drama of Dionysius. I did not know what was happening to me, but I began to think about James more than I should, even when I'm with Tommy. And whenever he comes over, watch me light up. Tommy noticed, but felt it was the usual joy from one artist to another. Oh, no, it was more than that. I knew it. I think my infatuation with James became profound the day I visited his house alone. Tommy and I have visited James's house several times, but this time things were different. I was going by myself. Tommy had gone to work as usual, and I had the blocks for 2 days. I needed a new environment to see if the blocks would go away. I paced around a little and stood in front of the window in my study. From the window, I saw the shirtless James painting and dancing. His eyes were fixed on whatever he was painting, but his body was obviously vibing to whatever music he was listening to. I thought, maybe I should go over and see what he's doing. It could help. With that thought in mind, I took a book, a bottle of whiskey, and walked across the street to James's house. By the time I got to the door, I started to have second thoughts. What are you doing coming to a man's house alone? I stopped at the threshold of his house, fighting with my inner demon and angel, when his door opened. "Hello, neighbor," James said, with his usual smirk. I was a bit startled, but I composed myself immediately. "Hello, James. I saw you painting and thought to encroach on your piece for a while." I smiled. He smiled too, and he let me in. That day was one of the best days I have had in a while. Since Tommy got his promotion, he was never around. No more date nights, romance was a blue moon, and communication dwindled. James made me feel alive again, feel noticed. He showed me his collection of paintings and the new collection he was working on. They were all erotic. Never in a million years would I imagine James was into erotics. He seemed too innocent for that genre. I did tell him, and he smiled. "Appearance and reality are two different things," he said, with a sensual glint in his blue eyes. "I can remember all these like it was yesterday." The atmosphere became tense immediately. He showed me some more paintings, and my curiosity grew into desire. James was beside me, but I could feel his eyes on him, touching me without touching me, ripping my clothes off, splashing paint on my body, and making me his artwork. I wanted so much to be on his canvas, to be his creation. At that moment, I forgot everything. James sensed my longing, but would not do anything. We just drank, enjoyed the tension in the atmosphere, and gazed at the unfinished breast he was painting. Soon after, I heard Tommy's car pull over, said my goodbye, and left. This was the beginning of my end. I knew it. The next day, James came around just like I did, without prior notice. I was in my nightie as I was not expecting anybody. He rang the bell and opened it without waiting for a response. I was astonished at his audacity. Tommy had forgotten to lock the door as he was in a haste to get to work, and I was still in bed when he left. I said a weak hello to him and, for some reason, did not move to change my clothes. He had a bottle of dark rum with him and the painting he was working on yesterday, still unfinished. James was quiet. He stared at me with the same eyes of yesterday, came closer, and attempted to remove my nightie. I moved back, shocked by his audacity. He had hit a block, I could see it in his eyes, and wanted me to be his muse. He wanted me to strip for him so he could paint me. The thought was exciting. James was still quiet, his eyes on me, looking, hoping, watching. I thought about Tommy, about the house, about our lives. Tommy was away. Tommy would not know. Nobody would know. So without, I stripped. He gasped. At this point, anything could happen. I was open to doing anything. James came closer and grabbed me gently by the neck. It was not painting anymore. He flung the canvas to the far end of the living room, and we began to kiss. James has tricked me, but I would not say anything. I could not say anything. He stopped kissing me at intervals to explore my body. James went down on me, taking in everything, every scent, every flesh. It was a burst of pleasure for me, a burst of extreme pleasure for me. And in that moment of ecstasy, we did not hear the door open. Tommy was standing in the living room where we were, tears running down his eyes, watching us without words. He had forgotten the building plan he worked on the night before and had to rush back home. I saw him first and instantly jumped up. Tommy allowed James to leave. He was too confused to be violent. I mean, he thought we were happy. And we were. I knew I wanted him more than I got him, but we were happy for the most part. How can one cheat unprovoked? 1 month after the incident, we did not say anything to each other. The gloom and guilt in the house was profound. In that 1 month, I went back to James. He took me again, and this time, there was no guilt in my actions. I was gone. Tommy had tried to reach out to me, but it was too late. About 2 months later, I filed for a divorce. Tommy was surprised, but knew me better. I can still see his eyes the day he signed the papers. Sad, begging, hoping, but I was far gone. It was too late. Tommy is married now with 3 children, and I'm on my 3rd husband. Laughs. Hopefully, I don't cheat on this one like I did the first 2. It is hard to stop cheating once you start, and it ruins everything. Your life, your partners, what you have built, and what you are building. It is like crystal meth. James is addictive. I'm going to see him tomorrow, and for sure he will take me, and I will surrender.